Hello, and welcome to the Conference Ministers Report for the 2022-2023 year. My name is Nathan Luchins. I'm the Executive Conference Minister for Central Plains Mennonite Conference, and I'll be back in a few minutes to talk about some of the challenges and opportunities that we as a conference have faced. But as we begin our Conference Ministers Report, I'm going to turn it over first to Susan Jansen, our Conference Minister for Ministerial Leadership.
Greetings from the conference's office in Kelowna, Iowa. This is home base for conference ministers. And I'm Susan Jansen. I'm the Conference Minister for Ministerial Leadership. My primary role in this job is to walk with congregations in pastoral searches and then to nurture the relationship between pastors and congregations so that we all might grow in faithfulness as we follow Jesus together. I spend a lot of my time talking with pastors, talking with elders and other folks in congregations. I do a lot of listening to joys and challenges, and then strive to encourage and equip pastors and other lay leaders as they seek to be faithful servants of God. My greatest joy and satisfaction in this role come from when I have the opportunity to leave the office and come visit you. I like spending time in your communities. I love worshiping with your congregations and getting to know you, the people who make up Central Plains Mennonite Conference and make us who we are and what we are. A couple of highlights from this past year. For about a year and a half now, I've been meeting with a group of young first-time pastors on a monthly basis via Zoom. And this continues to just be a source of inspiration for me, a source of encouragement as these new pastors encounter some aspects of ministry for the first time or share with one another the wisdom that they have gleaned as they have taken on new identities as pastors and are growing into this calling that has led them to the congregations they're serving. It's been a joy and delight to walk with these young pastors, and I hope we continue to meet for another year at least, and hopefully some others will be joining us. I also one of the things that gives me life and energy in this role is being part of the credentialing conversations, interviews that the Pastoral Leadership Committee has with each person who comes to us for licensing or for ordination, or even for recognizing an ordination from another denomination. These conversations are always stimulating. It's so encouraging and exciting to hear people's stories, to understand how the Spirit is working through them and with them, and has been faithful to them throughout their lives, and how they are answering the call that God has placed on their hearts to be ministers of the gospel. And so it's a joy to be part of these interviews. I also am the one who gets to officiate most of the ceremonies where we confer licenses and where we ordain people, and that's always a special and a sacred moment. I also work with the conference's conflict management team, and I'm grateful for this group of trained professionals. They are volunteering their time, but they are all trained in conflict management, conflict resolution, communication skills, and have committed themselves to working through our conference to help our congregations and pastors have better relationships, and to step into some situations when there is conflict or division or just lack of good communication. And so they have worked with several congregations throughout this year, and I'm excited where I see healing happening, where I see hope, and where I see patterns of communication changing, and becoming for the better. So I'm grateful for the conflict team and would encourage any of the rest of you who might want someone to come and help you walk through some of these situations to be in touch with me. I think the only other thing I would just do is to just say that I am looking forward to talking with you at annual meeting and to hearing what's going on in your congregation, to see where the Spirit is leading us, and how, as the conference minister for ministerial leadership, I can be of assistance to your congregation in helping you become the vessel of healing and hope that God is calling you to be.
Well, the last year in Central Plains Mennonite Conference and within Mennonite Church USA has been an interesting one. The passing of the resolution of repentance and transformation has led to all kinds of new and interesting challenges. Some congregations being very excited about the direction of that resolution, and other congregations being quite upset that that resolution was even considered. And so we find ourselves in this in-between space, a challenging space to be sure, as we try to navigate a way forward. But that's not the only challenge that we're facing. There are broader societal changes that are happening around us, changes that are having a profound effect on our congregations and on the church more broadly as a whole. And all of those changes have led to the need for us to begin to rethink what it means for us to be a conference and what kind of a conference we need to meet the challenges that we're going to face moving forward. A little over a year ago, Amanda Blickty and I sat down and we began to think about the role of the conference minister for Christian formation. One of the changes we've noted is that as times have changed, congregations have become more able to look for and to find and to vet materials that they need for their churches on their own. And so it was becoming the need for a conference minister of Christian formation who would go through a lot of material and find the best stuff and then offer that to congregations was no longer the role that she was needing to provide for our conference. And so we were trying to rethink what would it look like to think differently about what it meant to be the conference minister for Christian formation. One of the things that she began to do, that she tried this year, was an experiment in bringing together a cohort of pastors who wanted to think differently about what Christian formation in their congregations might look like. This cohort has met over the course of the past year as they began to think and dream together about what might be different. Maybe even to begin to think about some experiments and how they might go about doing formation work differently in their churches. But as time went on, Amanda also began to think, well, maybe there are some other opportunities out there for me. And an opportunity to become the co-director of Crooked Creek Christian Camp came up. And she was excited about this opportunity. And I frankly am very excited for her as well. We wish her the best as she begins this journey. But one of the things that we really do appreciate is that she transitioned from 3/4 time to quarter time, but that quarter time she continues in the role of our communications director. This is a huge still piece of what we do here at the conference, and finding ways to tell the stories of what is going on in our congregations with each other is hugely important. I've really enjoyed the Scattered Seeds over the past year, and I've really enjoyed reading and hearing the stories of the ways in which congregations are engaging with their communities and trying to think about what it means for them to be the hands and feet of Jesus Christ, what it means for them to bear witness to God's kingdom in their communities. And so we're seeing a lot of interesting things happening there. And I'm deeply grateful to Amanda for all of the work she has done. And while we are sorry to lose her at the conference, we know that it is the gain for Crooked Creek Christian Camp to have her there. But all of that has led to a different challenge for us. In no longer having Amanda as a regular full-time or almost full-time part of our staff, it has opened up some space for us now to begin to think about what kind of conference do we need? What kind of structure do we need? What kind of conference ministers do we need? The work that Susan is doing, very important work of being the pastor to our pastors, is ongoing work that will be needed for years to come. But some of the other roles that we have been taking on, some of the other things that we have been doing are needing to change. And so we're beginning to think, what is it that we need? What is it that our congregations need from a conference? How can a conference best help our congregations live into the people who God is calling them to be? And so one of the things that we are doing is we're beginning an experiment in the leaders' table. The leaders' table is a place where leaders begin to gather to talk about the societal and larger pressures that are beginning to have a significant influence on the church. Having a place to talk about the fact that the things that were very successful for churches in the past no longer work the way they once did. And while pastors may work harder and harder at the things that they do, those don't always have the same impact they once did. And so we're finding ourselves in this place where we're beginning to look for and trying to think about, how do we navigate? How do we begin to move forward? Really kind of crassly, like, what do we do? And we're going to talk about this a lot more at our conference this next week. We're going to get a taste of the leaders' table there. And so I want to invite you guys to already begin thinking about this, thinking about the ways in which maybe some of the pressures of society, some of the changes that are happening around us are having an effect on our church. Volunteer organizations are having a hard time finding people across the board. What we see the trust in institutions is declining across the board for all the institutions of our society. And the church is caught up in all of these things. And if we just continue to do the things that we have always done, it's not going to have the result that we hope for. And we're going to have a difficult time bearing witness to Jesus Christ in our time. So the challenge for us is to begin to think, to begin to talk together, to begin to recognize what are the challenges that are facing us, and what are some small experiments that we can begin to do to meet some of those challenges, and how can the conference then become the kind of conference that supports churches as they move into those spaces, as they begin to think about those challenges. So I look forward to seeing you, many of you folks in York. I look forward to the conversation we're going to have. And I look forward to getting deep into this as we begin to experiment and to think and to dream and to discern together what it is the Holy Spirit is inviting us to be a part of. See you soon.